It's all yours, General.
Good evening, Air Force One.
My name is Azam Rodino, General Rodino.
President Edwards, your plane has been hijacked.
All cellular or satellite service
Can penetrate this hull.
Put your weapons down!
I have to get you to safety, Mr. President.
The film opens at the United States Marine Corps base, where Marines undergo rigorous training, from demanding obstacle courses to intense hand-to-hand combat. Among them, one Marine stands out, Allison. She's fast, focused, and formidable. However, her moment of triumph is interrupted when her trainer launches a surprise attack, reminding her that vigilance must never waver. Later, we're introduced to Sam, a seasoned secret agent and Allison's uncle. Impressed by her performance, he invites her for a drink at a local bar and shares thrilling news. She's been selected for a prestigious assignment at the White House, with the general's endorsement already secured. Allison is thrilled but questions whether her selection is based on merit or family ties. Sam reassures her, she's earned it. Meanwhile, a major geopolitical development unfolds. The US president announces plans to form an alliance with Estovia, a nation bordering Russia, centered around a controversial oil agreement. The decision ignites public debate, but the president remains unwavering. The following day at the White House, the vice president voices strong opposition, citing concerns over Estovia's oil sector being controlled by mafia interests. Despite the warnings, the president stands firm. Allison, now stationed at the White House, is briefed by Sam to prepare for the president's upcoming trip to Estovia. She's assigned to escort him aboard Air Force One, a lifelong dream she never imagined would come true. That evening, tensions escalate in Estovia. General Rodionov, enraged by the alliance, confronts the Prime Minister, a supporter of the deal. Rodionov's grip on Estovia's oil is slipping, and he's determined to retain control, by any means necessary. Back in the US, an Air Force One pilot returns home to find his family held hostage by Nikolai, one of Rodionov's ruthless operatives. Under duress, the pilot contacts the president's staff to report his unavailability. Moments later, Nikolai executes the pilot and his family without mercy. Simultaneously, an American agent responsible for aircraft logistics is ambushed by Joan, another of Rodionov's enforcers. She gains access to sensitive data, granting Rodionov's team full control over the aircraft's logistics. The next morning, Allison steps aboard Air Force One for the first time, awestruck by its scale and sophistication. Sam quickly ushers her inside to prepare for the president's arrival. President Falcon boards shortly after, heading straight to his private quarters as the plane readies for departure. Unbeknownst to the crew, danger lurks on board. Nikolai has infiltrated the cockpit as a pilot. As Air Force One soars through the night sky, a covert threat begins to unfold. One of the pilots attempts to contact the control center, but receives no response. The server has been compromised. Moments later, Nikolai eliminates both pilots and transmits a chilling message to General Rodionov. Air Force One is now under their control. In the main cabin, a journalist questions President Falcon about Estovia. The president calmly explains that Estovia's leader requested U.S. cooperation, citing vast oil reserves that rarely reach the national treasury. But the conversation is abruptly interrupted. Nikolai hijacks the plane's sound system. Rodionov's voice crackles through the speakers, stunning passengers. He declares the aircraft hijacked and asserts full control over satellites and servers. The president is ordered to comply. Recognizing the threat, Sam, head of security, swiftly escorts the president to a secure room with two agents and instructs passengers to remain calm in the middle cabin. One agent stays behind while Sam dispatches the rest of the security team to locate the infiltrators. Soon, a journalist from Estovia, secretly one of Rodionov's operatives, kills the agent guarding the passengers. He's not alone. Another infiltrator reveals there are now 4 enemies on board. She signals Nikolai, who announces full control of the aircraft and demands the president exit the secure room. To reinforce his threat, Nikolai violently jolts the plane, injuring Sam with a shard to the leg. Sam, wounded but resolute, instructs Allison to prioritize the president's safety. Nikolai begins a deadly countdown, 20 seconds. The president, under pressure, exits the secure room and witnesses two agents fall as Jones strikes again. He's escorted to the B-class cabin, where Rodionov demands a video confession, cancel the Estovia alliance and publicly denounce its leadership and people. He gives the president 1 hour. As the journalist monitors the president, a lapse in attention gives Falcon a chance to resist, but he's quickly subdued. Meanwhile, Joan prepares to enter the cabin, signaling with 5 knocks. Allison notices and mimics the signal. When the door opens, she launches a brutal fight against Joan, ultimately defeating him with lethal precision. Elsewhere, one of Rodionov's henchmen guards the hostages, including high-ranking officials. He detects movement from Sam's room and moves to investigate. The journalist intervenes, gun raised. With Joan dead, he alerts Nikolai, who switches the plane to autopilot and rushes to the scene. Allison and the president, now cornered, face a new threat. The journalist demands Allison surrender or Sam will be killed. He orders Sam to convince her to comply. Sam, defiant, urges Allison to protect the president, knowing their fate is sealed. Enraged, the journalist shoots Sam. The hostages are executed moments later. Gunfire echoes through the cabin. Allison, devastated, fears Sam is dead. In a desperate move, she grabs the president and heads for the emergency exit. They plan to parachute out, but Nikolai intercepts them. Allison fires, grazing the president's hand. Though not seriously wounded, the tension is overwhelming. They leap from the aircraft, landing hard but safely. Back on board, the journalist and his comrade curse their failure. They report the escape to Rodionov, noting the president and his agent parachuted near a valley close to Russia. Rodionov reacts swiftly, ordering the destruction of Air Force One and deploying troops to locate the landing site. At the Air Force One control center, panic erupts, the plane has vanished from radar. Officials contact the White House. Mark, the president's chief of staff, informs the vice president. His voice grim, Mark admits that survivors are unlikely. The vice president, visibly shaken, orders Mark to travel to Etovia and lead the search effort. Meanwhile, Allison and the president move quickly, seeking shelter. Allison suggests heading to higher ground to find a signal. As they ascend, Rodionov's forces sweep the valley in waves. Exhausted and wary, the pair trek through the forest until they discover a small hut and decide to rest. Inside, Allison tends to the president's injured hand, her thoughts racing. The betrayal is clear, the hijackers knew the plane's vulnerabilities and were aware of Sam, her late uncle. As night deepened, Allison and President Falcon sat quietly in the corner of a remote hut, exchanging personal stories. The president offered a heartfelt apology for Sam's death. Despite her grief, Allison spoke warmly of Sam, how he had stepped in as a father figure after her parents passed. She believed he would be proud of her for protecting the president. At dawn, Allison awoke to find herself resting on the president's shoulder. Embarrassed, she quickly apologized, but the president smiled and replied, "No need. No one's jealous, I'm still single." They packed up and resumed their journey, but danger loomed. Rodionov's men were closing in. Allison swiftly neutralized several attackers, but reinforcements kept coming. Outnumbered, the president reluctantly suggested surrender. Captured and taken to Rodionov's headquarters, Allison and the president found themselves powerless. Racked with guilt, Allison blamed herself for failing Sam. Rodionov, cold and calculating, separated them, dragging the president into another room while Allison was left with his second-in-command. As they walked, Rodionov ranted about his disdain for capitalism, blaming it for his country's decline. The president calmly countered, arguing that cooperation could benefit both nations. But Rodionov, who had long monopolized Estovia's oil profits, refused to listen. In the adjacent room, Rodionov demanded a confession video from the president, one that would cancel the alliance and publicly condemn the U.S. The president refused, willing to die rather than betray his country. But when Rodionov threatened Allison's life, he reluctantly agreed. Meanwhile, Allison faced harassment from Rodionov's lieutenant. She responded with lethal precision, eliminating him and silently navigating the facility, dispatching enemies along the way. Back in the recording room, the president was being prepped by makeup artists for the confession video. Just as filming was about to begin, Allison launched a surprise assault, rifle in hand. Gunfire erupted as she took down Rodionov's guards one by one. The building shook with the sounds of battle.
Looks like you're outnumbered, General.
Eventually, only Rodionov remained. He confronted the president, threatening to kill him unless Allison surrendered. In a flash, Rodionov shot Allison in the arm, nearly defeating her. But before he could strike again, the president turned the tables, killing Rodionov from behind. Both Allison and the president survived. The next morning, Mark, the president's chief of staff, arrived and was visibly relieved to find them alive. He urged them to head to a nearby airstrip and return to the U.S., but the president refused. "Tend to Allison's wounds first," he ordered. Mark hesitated, then muttered, "She's won." The phrase stunned Allison. It echoed a lesson from her old trainer: never let your guard down, even when you think you've won. As Allison was treated by Special Forces soldiers, she casually asked about their unit. They confirmed her suspicions. Then she mentioned Commander Alex. The soldiers exchanged glances, admitting they'd just spoken to him. Allison sprang into action. One by one, the soldiers fell. Calmly, she revealed the truth: Alex wasn't a commander, he ran a bakery down the street. The story had been a trap. It all clicked. Mark and the soldiers were traitors, part of the network she'd been hunting. Tension peaked as Mark turned on the president, revealing his alliance with Rodionov. But before he could act, Allison took him down with a clean shot. The immediate threat was over. They rushed to the airstrip, where the president made a bold decision. He declined the waiting aircraft and chose to pilot the plane himself. As they soared into the sky, he exchanged a meaningful glance with Allison, a silent bond forming between them. Then, with the world watching, the president made a powerful declaration: he had survived, and the alliance between the United States and Estovia remained unshaken. After a brief pause, he stunned the public with one final revelation: he intended to propose to Allison, leaving the future wide open and full of possibility. The film ends. Until next time, have a great day.